Welcome everyone to the Thunder Buddies podcast, your source for all things Thunder basketball, courtesy of the Oklahoman. My name is Justin Martinez, and today I'm joined once again by our columnist Joe Mussatto. Joe, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, Justin. Let's take 81 more of those. That was pretty fun last night.
Instant classic. OKC tipped off its season with a 125 to 124 double overtime home win over the Houston Rockets. Opening night, ring night, a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to get into all of it in this episode. Let's not waste any time, Joe. Let's go ahead and just start off with what started off the night, the ceremony for OKC. Obviously, its players received its championship rings. The banner was raised. Just what do you think about how all of that played out?
Yeah, I just thought super cool moment for, anyone who was in the building, for the city as a whole, certainly for the team. Just to have every guy come out one by one to accept their rings and dap up the commissioner and Sam Presti and Clay Bennett, and just the excitement when they opened up their boxes to reveal these rings inside of rings. The design was cool. It said 0 and 0 on it. Mark Daigneault's catchphrase. It was the most thundery thing of all time. And then the banner. I don't know why I was like weirdly obsessed with the banner, but I was like, is it going to be giant? Is it going to have the Larry O'Brien trophy on it? And no, it kind of matches the aesthetic of all the other banners, the divisional banners, the conference championship banners. And it hung in a special place Tuesday night, kind of just to the side of the jumbotron. I think they're going to put it with all the other banners moving forward. But just to see that raised up from the floor, the guys leaning over to touch it, I thought was kind of a cool moment. So just a special night all around. What do you think of the pregame festivities?
Yeah, I agree. It was very thundery with all the little details there. I thought another cool thing was also seeing some of the former Thunder guys
Hmm.
in attendance for it. Obviously everyone talks about KD and his return, but Jeff Green and Steven Adams were the only Rockets players who were on the bench during that whole ceremony. Obviously, two guys who spent the early portions of their career with OKC. So I thought that was cool. You had
Hmm.
Carmelo Anthony in attendance. He's an analyst for NBC. Serge Ibaka was there. He'd been in town for the past few days, was at some practices, and then opening night. So I just thought overall it was really cool to see the current team get celebrated, but also celebrating some of the guys who sort of laid that foundation for what we see today.
Justin, Dylan Jones was there.
Dylan
Don't
Jones was
bury
there.
don't bury the lead, man. Shout out Dylan Jones coming back for ring night. But yeah, it was cool. I made this point to someone else. Like obviously Thunder fans are gonna boo Kevin Durant. I've given up my crusade against that. But it is just so like silly when like Melo has like this video montage played here for a year, kind of forgettable. Everyone loves Melo, but they go crazy for Melo. And then Kevin Durant, who kind of put this city on the map, just gets mercilessly booed. But it was poetic, really, getting to the game to have it really came down to a lot of, one-on-one battles between Shea and KD there at the end, with Shea drawing the foul against Kevin Durant. Kind of a poetic way to end it, I thought.
Yeah, and it really was tough sledding for Shea early on as well. Only five first half points. One of the other big storylines out of all the many storylines for this night was the size that Houston was going to have with its starting lineup, an average height of 6 feet and 10.2 inches, which is insane. It was pretty much all 6'11" guys, and then Amen Thompson at the one, who I think is like 6'6".
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could definitely tell that it was giving OKC some problems early on. When you have that much size, obviously they're not going to be playing as fast. So it really becomes a battle of who's going to control the pace of play. And I thought Houston did that for the first half. And Shea was one of those guys who just was mostly focused on playmaking. Chet Holmgren got off to a hot start, so they were feeding him the ball. But in that second half, man, like you said, it just turned into a battle of two of the best players in the world in Shea and KD.
Yeah, I loved the contrast of styles, and obviously it's going to look different when J Dub is back there. I just thought the most glaring thing from Houston's perspective, like that jumbo lineup is fun, but man, did they miss Fred Van Vliet. Just have another ball handler out there, another shooter out there. Kevin Durant didn't make a three, only attempted four threes. He's going to have to get more shots up, and they'll find him in the flow of the offense. Like it was a lot of Şengün. He was awesome. But when Amin Thompson's going 0 of 7 from three, and like Şengün's your best 3-point shooter um, out there, they were really missing that. But predictably, Rockets dominated the boards, had more second chance points. But the Thunder got out and ran too, after it was kind of a slog early on. And I think that's the key. Like if we ever saw these two teams in a playoff series, to combat that just supersized Houston lineup, I think the Thunder would love to run and push the pace, and the Rockets would like to slow things down and control it a little more in the half court.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Sengun. He had let me have it. I have it right here. 39 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. They're not going to be able to count on him for a lot of three-pointers consistently, I don't think, this season. He actually shot a career low 23.3% from deep last season, but 5 for 8 last night, a career high for him in terms of makes, and his previous career high was 3, so he practically doubled it. But like you said, that's not something that you really want to consistently rely on. So they are going to need some more shooters. Obviously, KD is gonna knock them down a lot more than what he did last night. But yeah, that is something to watch for them for sure. And yeah, going back to that pace of play, I thought one of the guys who really helped turn things around was Cason Wallace in that third quarter specifically. You could see that OKC was ramping up the defensive pressure, creating turnovers, and then also getting out in transition. And Cason Wallace is one of those guys who's like he's one of the most exciting players in transition in the NBA. He's so quick. He's able to just be a one-man wrecking ball, and he will catch a few bodies as well at the rim. Like he gets up there. He had 3 steals in that third quarter alone. Finished with, I believe it was 4 or 5 of them. I have it right here. Finished with 4 of them. Yeah, and I felt like he really did help set the tone for that. Not a full comeback. It's not like OKC was down by a ton throughout the night, but I really thought he helped kind of swing the momentum in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Shea. He closed great. Chet started and ended great. In the middle was didn't hear much from him, but I thought Cason Wallace was probably the MVP of the game, if you wanted to give that out, because he hit 2 really clutch threes at the end of regulation, and then in overtime he had one where it's kind of a junk possession for the Thunder. Shot clock's running out, and he makes a three. I think it like put OKC ahead by 1. And just on a night where neither team was shooting the three ball well, like every three just felt huge. And those are like icing on the cake for Kaysen, because you mentioned the steals, the defensive pressure, like that's the things that he's going to be doing out there. But he was great.
I thought another guy who was kind of one of those unsung heroes was AJ Mitchell as well. A lot of it was in the first half, but just throughout the game, I mean, he's just such a reliable option. He's a solid playmaker. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes with the ball. He scores efficiently. He gets to his spots. Plays at his own pace. Last night had 16 points and 2 assists off the bench, and I think this is going to be a role that he's going to continue to have a chance to capitalize on, especially with Nikola Topic out as well. They're going to need that playmaker. They're going to need some guard depth while Topic is recovering. And yeah, I just feel like he's someone who just has a really high floor. He's able to come in and immediately contribute. He did that last season before he got banged up, and we're starting to see it again this season.
Especially with J-Dub out too, because the Thunder's going to need another ball handler and anchor on the second units. What I loved from Mitchell, and I was really surprised, I think he played 15 minutes and got 6 threes up. I just love that like aggressiveness. He made 3 of them. Um, I think him and Kaysen both had 3, and no one else had more than that. But he's just steady, man. He's like, I still think, maybe come playoff time, he's a guy that opposing teams would target defensively. But Mark Daignault's been pretty, not praised AJ, but like, hey, he can stick in there defensively. He tries hard. That's half the battle. But then offensively, he's just so steady. He's a he's a good ball handler. He's a good shooter. He's a good passer. None of it's flashy. None of it's like A plus, but all of it's B to B plus. And for like a backup, that's perfect.
Yeah, and I think also we kind of maybe brushed over it a little quickly, but Chet, especially early on, we've had these episodes before, and you're someone who is buying all the Chet stock.
Should have said first team, Justin. I said
It's a good
second
thing you
team.
bought it before the season, because I think after this last game, it'd be too expensive. It's definitely shooting up right now. He ended up scoring 11 of OKC's first 13 points. And then I have the final stat line here for him if I can pull this up. I believe it was what, 28 points or something to
Yeah.
that extent. I believe it was.
Which I think was one shy of his season high from a year ago.
Yeah, and just go ahead and just tell me what you saw out of him. You know, you've been looking for him to put the ball on the deck more this season. It seemed like he was really doing that early on for him.
Yeah, especially early. He was aggressive. We mentioned Shea and KD late, and probably should get back to that. But early, it was KD was guarding Chet quite a bit. And again, I am not comparing Chet Holmgren to Kevin Durant, but just some of the moves that Chet put on KD, it was like a younger version of KD trying those things. Some of the turnaround uh, jumpers and just using his length and it just looks so easy. So I loved that. I loved him getting to some of those spots in the mid range. He also hit a really big three in overtime. And obviously, you know what you're going to get defensively. Didn't have like a crazy stat night defensively, but just such a good rim deterrent. But yeah, I think he had 60. You said 11 of the first 13. I think he had 16 of the first 30. And then
Yeah.
he didn't really score in the second in the middle quarters. And then came alive again late in the game. But um, yeah, that was an exciting debut, I thought, for Chet.
Yeah, it looked very similar to what we saw of him at the start of last season. You know, before he had his fractured hip after those first 9 games, he looked really good. Obviously, wasn't able to start looking completely like himself after that injury, but you know, he talked a lot about the work he put in this offseason, getting his body right. And you could just tell it looks like he's added some strength. He was using that a lot more as well. And yeah, I do have the final stat line here. It was 28 points, 7 rebounds, 11 for 17 shooting from the field. I think he made something like his first 7 or 8 shot attempts.
Yeah.
Like, just very efficient, 2 for 5 from deep as well with space in the floor. And exactly the type of stuff you're going to need, especially while Dub is out as well as he continues to progress from his wrist surgery. Um, but going back to Shea here now, obviously he's the one who helped close this one out. We mentioned only 5 points at halftime, only 11 points entering the fourth quarter. Ended up finishing with 35. I mean, just his ability to rise to the moment, to the occasion. It seems like every single time he was the mid range shot was working for him. You know, he was finishing out the rim. Just really a complete performance from a guy who, you know, at this point you would expect nothing less.
Yeah, and had the biggest shot of the game to send it into overtime. I mean, we got to get to some of KD's gaffes, but a big one was that kind of goes under the radar after a crazy double overtime game is that missed free throw. KD goes 1 of 2. If he makes them both, it's a 3 point game. Obviously, a tougher look for the Thunder coming back on the other end, but misses the first, makes the second. Thunder down by 2. Shea hits the mid-ranger to send it to overtime, and then at the end of the game, the game-winning free throws, getting KD to bite on a fake, drawing a foul there, and there's Shea and the Thunder missed its fair share of free throws as well, but Shea was clutch there at the end to hit those game-winning free throws.
Yeah, and you mentioned KD. We do kind of have to mention what happened at the end of that first overtime where Shea gets the shot along the baseline blocked. KD grabs it, scores tie, few seconds left, just instinctually tries to call timeout, signaling for it. You know, he's verbally saying it, you could see it, and the referees don't see it, and it ends up not being what should have been called a technical and a free throw for OKC because Houston didn't have a timeout. Instead, game goes to a second overtime. Now, we did get the pull report from crew chief Zach Zarba after the game. He said none of the 3 game officials saw Kevin signal that timeout. That's why it wasn't granted before the expiration of time. You know, Mark Dagnall was asked about it after the game. Shea was asked about it. They both just pretty much said, you know, clearly it was a missed call, but they spoke their piece about it. It is what it is. Game moves on. But I just think that, and also just so many other distractions and reasons why they could have gotten, sidetracked last night. Their ability to just to push through all of that and still be able to close this one out, I think, just really speaks to the maturity of this team. We talk about how young it is all the time, but the maturity, their ability to just stay locked in and close these types of games out is really something else.
A few things on the KD almost Chris Webber moment. One, I'm glad the Thunder won for no other reason than it would have been a mess to deal with this in the aftermath. Because if the Rockets end up winning that game and they don't call the technical, it's a whole different thing. Right now, it's something you can be like, wait, how did they miss that? But in the end, it didn't affect the result. Number two, Zach Zarba is a fantastic official. I don't believe him, and maybe that's unfair. But here's my theory, Justin, and you
Okay.
can tell me if I'm really wrong. I think the refs knew the situation, that they knew Houston didn't have a timeout, and that they saw Kevin Durant calling for timeout, and they did not want to decide the game like that. And they did not blow the whistle because I just have a hard time when like everyone in the arena, I was up in the clouds. I could see that, something was going on here. Also, Kevin Durant wouldn't have just stood under the basket to waste the last couple seconds from the clock. It seemed like everyone, especially on the court, knew the situation. And those refs are sharp. So I don't really buy that they didn't see it. And I don't even have a super huge problem with it. I know you have to call it, sure, but I really feel like they were doing KD a solid by not having the game end that way.
Yeah, I mean Zarba he's a finals official. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
one of the best, but yeah, like you said, everybody else knew the situation. Sengun was standing right next to him and literally was trying to like swat
Yeah.
KD's hand because he was going like this. He's like, "Put your hands down." And like we said, he was making the signal and verbally saying it as well. It was plastered all over the video board. Like I think, yeah, especially as a seasoned official, you kind of know going into that situation, okay, they don't have any timeouts, you know. Um, so yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. I also feel that that's probably what happened. It is a good thing that KC was able to win because yeah, that would have been a whole mess to sort out. But
Yeah.
the good thing is we got an extra overtime, and it just really added to a game that was, like I said, an instant classic. I feel like I mean, if you had to guess, are we going to get a better game this entire NBA season?
No, I don't think so. It's kind of depressing to say after game one because there's 81 more of these, but especially like maybe there's going to be an actual better game, although I think that's doubtful. There's certainly not going to be a better regular season atmosphere environment. Like the crowd is never going to be that loud in the regular season. I think Christmas Day would be the only thing that could touch it, but even then, there was excitement all day in the city. There was excitement, people in the streets early to see the ring ceremony, to see the banner raised. Like even if the Thunder would have got run out of the gym last night, I still think it would have been an overall positive experience for fans just to be a part of the pregame ceremony. The game was like extra. Um, and then the game ended up being an even bigger deal than the rings and the banners and everything. So I don't know how we would top that. Especially with like the kind of poetic ending with Durant and SGA matched up against each other, with Steven Adams and Jeff Green on the other team, with freaking Carmelo Anthony and Dylan Jones in the building.
And Dylan
I don't know
Jones.
how it could get better.
Yeah, I really don't think there's going to be another game with that amount of storylines is the big thing. But like you said, it was really like a playoff atmosphere, and we talked about it earlier. You mentioned it earlier that maybe OKC learned a few things that this was a playoff matchup. If you had to give me just like a scale, how seriously were you taking Houston as a threat prior to this game, and did it go up? Did it go down? Did it stay the same after a game like that?
I love overreacting after one game. I thought Houston was third best team in the West, the second biggest threat to the Thunder behind the Nuggets, but a big gap. I've got the Nuggets closer to the Thunder than I do the Rockets even to the Nuggets. Um, but I don't feel any stronger about like, man, the Rockets could really win a series against the Thunder. But I do think it would be just so entertaining. Aside from even the Durant element, which would dominate the narrative, but just stylistically, the thing I loved is like against the Pelicans, Willie Green would start Valanciunas and then sit him immediately, like when they were trying to go big because it wasn't working. Udoka stayed big and didn't try to bend to the Thunder's will. So I liked that part of it. I think it's a really good coaching matchup between those two guys. Um, so I'm higher on the entertainment factor than, if that makes sense, than I was going into it.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think it might have already been that way before the season started, but I think that is the playoff matchup that I would like to see the most, and really that just confirmed it for me. But in terms of like how much of a threat Houston is, I mean they are a threat, but like once Jalen Williams comes back, that's a 6'6" guy who's able to defend, you know, bigger opponents. We saw him be an emergency center last season. Like, I think that would also change the dynamic of it to where OKC is now better equipped to handle that type of size. Obviously, Kaysen got the start in this one, but you sub him out for Jalen Williams. I just think that also changes the dynamic of it. Also gives OKC obviously another scoring option, playmaker for the second unit as well, all of that. So I do still feel like there is a pretty considerable gap there. I still think that Denver is the bigger threat, but yeah, in my opinion, that's the matchup that I want to see. If we're just talking entertainment, like I really don't feel like it gets any better than that.
I'll say something else entertaining. What if not going to happen, but just made me think when we had the honest talk in the offseason, and the Rockets are often mentioned because they've got a ton of really good young players that can be moved. Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason. I mean, they're not going to move Thompson. Of course, they still got a lot of picks. Just go all in on that just gigantic lineup. Bring in Giannis, have him play with Kevin Durant. And yeah, just go for it. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Definitely would be. And we got some more fun tomorrow as OKC continues its season on the road against the Indiana Pacers. Um, had a big storyline at first, but obviously the Tyrese Halliburton injury kind of lost a little bit of steam, but it still should be a fun night. It's Indiana's first game of the season. I'm sure the crowd will be ready for that one. I'm actually here in Indianapolis right now. People haven't noticed, and currently in a hotel room in downtown Indy. So that's gonna be very exciting tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. But until then, Joe, I think that's all that we got, man. Does that sound about right to you?
Breaking news from Shams. The NBA is going to paint the Larry O'Brien trophy on the finals court starting again this year. So we uh
Here we go.
we were underwhelmed, I would say, by the presentation of the finals last year. And having that giant gold trophy on the court, step in the right direction, Justin.
The people have been asking for it
I
for a
love it.
while.
I love it. Do you
Yeah.
like it?
Yeah, I think one of the big things was like wasn't Adam Silver saying it was just like the logistics of actually planning for that. It's like it was hard to get the court
Yeah,
created in time or something. I
I
mean,
guess, but who really buys that, you know?
yeah, yeah. But
Bring
that's
back the
awesome though.
final script, bring back the trophy. This is great. But yeah, have fun in Indiana, a place we know well now, Justin.
Very, very much. But all right, Joe, I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody for listening. This has been the Thunder Buddies podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.